Okay, we are live. Hello, everyone. Muting Twitch. Looks like we are wide on Twitch. Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining. Try number 2. The camera shut off unexpectedly for some stupid reason, and we got it back up and working. So hopefully, it won't shut down again. But anyway, I'm trying to feature a shirt every stream that's funny, and the shirt that I have is Dad Jokes Loading. So Zach, why does a chicken coop only have? Why does a chicken coop only have 2 doors?
Why?
Because if it had 4 doors, it would be a chicken sedan.
No, you got me. Usually I'm good at those.
Anyway, that's that. So anyway, I wanted to start the podcast and talk about kind of how we met, how we know each other. Also, thank you for being on podcast number 2. How
Thank
cool
you.
is this?
It's awesome. I'm happy to do this with you because I know it's something you're building. So I'm
Yeah.
happy to help.
Super passionate. I'm not quite done building it, but it is a work in progress, and it'll be even better next time you come on the show. So, okay, so we met.
So his mom married my dad. We didn't really get along.
Yeah.
I think we fought in the front yard. You hit me with the bike. I hit you with the driver.
Yeah.
We interviewed for a job together in tuxedos, and somebody farted.
And I'm in a wheelchair. Do you want to tell them why I'm in a wheelchair, Zach?
You can.
Yeah, so we were fighting, and when he hit me with that object that he said earlier that I forget already for some stupid reason, I just don't remember the moment.
You're the
that's
first person I've ever seen use a bike as a weapon.
Yeah, well, you got to use what you have around you, right? it's really important stuff. But no. I'm just that was all a joke, guys. So Zach and I met at an MMA gym. This is actually so we've been training, I don't know, for like a year now, I'd say. He off and on for a solid year, and it's one of the really cool things. It's kind of like a a hole in the wall gym. It's not something that you'd find like online or whatever else.
Nope.
And it's the community aspect of the gym is just it's awesome, and it seems like, I don't know, everybody that is there, that is at the gym, like I get along with, and everybody's super chill, and I don't know, like we've kind of built a family, if you will.
Mm-hmm.
What are your thoughts on gym life? You've been in the gym space longer than me, right?
Yeah, but
how long?
15 years.
How much?
15 years.
15 years? Oh my gosh, I knew it was like a couple years. I didn't know it was that long.
Yeah.
Wow. But yeah, anyway, I really like the family aspect of it, and yeah, I don't know, you can meet cool people like you. So
everybody trains.
Yeah.
Everybody has demons that they need to fight. Everyone has something that they're dealing with in their life that they want to get out. And it doesn't always occur with lifting weights. Golf, tennis, art I love.
Mm-hmm.
But for me, I needed something that, I just did this yesterday too, combat.
Mm-hmm.
Combat turns down the volume on the stresses in your life. And yeah, maybe it's kind of like Fight Club, but you're training for health, for your mental health, but also doing that with a purpose. Learning, striking, kicking, grappling. It's a puzzle.
Yeah.
And your mental health is a puzzle. But this helps that mental health. This helps turn down those stresses in your life where they're not as important anymore.
Yeah.
So, 15 years of doing mixed martial arts.
How much do you think about being like formidable outside of the gym?
Not a lot ever.
You don't? Not at all.
No,
Interesting.
because you are learning constantly. There's so much more to learn.
Yeah, sure.
Um, as far as like being formidable, I assume you mean combat outside of the gym.
Well, yeah, like if someone approaches you and just tries to throw a punch, you obviously know how to defend that pretty well.
Well, you read it first.
Yeah,
If you
sure.
can see it, if it's in your face,
Sure.
not
Yeah.
coming from behind you.
Yeah, yeah.
But you avoid those situations too.
Oh, yeah, for
So,
sure if you can. Yeah.
right.
Um I I think one of my inspirations for, or maybe motivators for doing MMA type stuff, someone said, "Be a monster, but learn how to contain it." And I think that's so valuable, and is especially men. I mean, women, it's great as well, but I think there's something in men, there's something inside men that like either they're gonna be a monster and be a jackass to everybody, and maybe use it the wrong way, but like the learn how to contain it part is like, hey, if you're weak, you're just weak, you
Mhm.
know, and you can't do anything about that, right?
Right.
And to learn how to contain that is like you learn the skills of MMA or whatever and how to defend yourself. So I don't know, that was one of my motivators.
Hmm.
Any thoughts on that thought process, I guess? Or
It's better to be a warrior in a garden than it is a
yes,
gardener in a war.
yes,
You practice peace, but you train for war. Um, I've had tragedy in my life
mm,
where um, said person wasn't trained in those things, to my
yeah,
knowledge.
yeah,
Um, and I knew I never wanted that for myself, for my family.
yeah,
So even with training, I've always trained like my family.
mm,
One, so I didn't have to worry about them, but two, like, um, expand your interests and expand your mind. And like with martial arts, it's just a rabbit hole with
yeah,
multiple tunnels.
yeah,
Those tunnels are endless,
great,
and there's incredible depth to it.
mm-hmm,
So with my brain and how I work, martial arts was like that key to explore it all
yeah,
because it takes you to so many different places. You talk about like that containment, which I think is awesome, but that also with practicing martial arts, it brings you so many different perspectives. Everybody
mm,
trains.
yeah,
Everybody has demons that they're
so
fighting.
true, yeah,
So you have lawyers, accountants, you have people
mm-hmm,
who are, carpenters, people who, like there's content creators who just go out and train different places. There's athletes who come in from different sports that come and do it.
yeah,
It's just something that you can experience so much of life in and learn so much, which is what drew me to it.
yeah,
But having that containment, um, that's a strength. It's a
yeah,
strength to have that knowledge and only to use it when you know break glass in case of an emergency,
right,
right?
yeah,
So that's where I came from. It was knowing that strength, knowing that you have that discipline to know when to use it,
yeah,
and also like the chess game of, let's say, jujitsu.
yeah,
Different positions lead to other positions, submissions, which is the whole
mm-hmm,
game.
yeah. It's
That's
chess.
that's life,
It's a physical
right?
game of chess.
Right. So
Yeah, that's life too.
playing chess, life, you're not going towards your goal directly. You have to do these separate steps to get there.
Mm-hmm.
It's discipline. It's discipline to do
Yeah,
all that. I
yeah,
know discipline's not always fun, but
mm-hmm.
there's a certain amount of learning and knowledge about yourself that comes from that.
Sure.
So
Yeah,
I know it's kind of hard for people to understand that who don't train,
yeah.
but um, you know, go try it.
Yeah. If you were telling someone, but by the way, one of the things, and this is going to lead into my next thought, that you can comment on. Um, I I've learned so much doing this stuff, and like about myself, about discipline, about just different skills. Like I've surprised myself in different ways,
Yeah.
right? And it's like. I, I played tennis as a kid. I freaking love that. That was awesome. but like nothing compares to this, you know? And it's so interesting. Like I've always said, like I think all kids need to do MMA growing. Like that needs to be a class, because it teaches you so many skills. So I guess my question is like, um, if if someone was first hearing about MMA, what would you tell them as far as like why they should get into it as opposed to something else, or try it at least?
Because it won't make you go look for violence. Because a lot of the people
Ooh.
who don't train look for violence. A lot of the people who
Ooh.
aren't doing things like that are they're bored, they have mental health issues, any number of things. You learn that there's different aspects of life and different aspects of yourself that you need to learn. There's going to be
Mm.
days where someone's, especially with jujitsu, just only because I did this yesterday, someone's sitting on your chest, you're gasping for air, right? That
Yeah.
sucks.
Yeah.
You can't think, you can't breathe,
Uh-huh.
but you're constantly moving. You're
Yeah.
not saying, I'm going to tap and give up because, like, I just can't move, you know?
Right.
Are you going to do that in your life? Like, are
Right.
you going to say, this job's too hard, I'm quitting, you
Right.
know? It depends, but, you know, that is in your life, like that moment, you're learning that fortitude. Like, I can deal with this.
Yeah.
I've dealt with this. I know how to escape this or manage it.
Yeah.
You know, martial arts teaches you that. It teaches you discipline. It teaches you to be accountable for yourself and to show up for yourself every day,
Yeah.
which is why I latched onto it
Mm-hmm.
because, you know, I didn't know what I was doing out of high school. I wasn't too disciplined. I was kind of just like not really knowing what I wanted to do, but I had to do something.
Mm-hmm.
Started meeting friends that trained with them, learned so many different martial arts, and, you know, my ADHD brain, as I am, latched onto that.
Yeah.
And I knew it was going to teach me that discipline. It taught me how to grind, how to focus,
Yeah.
but also how to have fun.
Yeah.
Because you're not just there to build muscle, learn how to, you know, kick someone, punch
Yeah.
things,
Yeah.
choke things. You're there to have fun.
Yeah.
And that's fun in itself, but you're also like taking that time to enjoy your life. So, and that's something that was really ingrained to me when I first started training was that spark was there to grind and to get to where I want to be, but you have to have fun.
Right. Yeah.
So,
That's critical, is having fun. And honestly, like our trainer Rob, who everyone hopefully will meet shortly. Our trainer Rob is one of those people um who likes to cater your the whatever skills that you like. He likes to make those more of a priority. For example, I like swinging the mace, and the mace is too hot to continue. Turn off the help. No, it was the GoPro.
too hot to handle.
It's too hot to handle.
Too hot to
That is dumb. Hold on one second. Hopefully, yes. Okay, good. Sorry everybody. We're testing out the equipment, I guess, and seeing what is going on and what adjustments we need to make. Okay. I'm so sorry. So we were just talking about um yeah, so we were just talking about MMA, and we were talking about so what is one thing that you would say you learned in MMA that has translated outside of life?
trust in yourself.
It can you give me an example? If you don't want to go with trust in yourself, you can go with another example of something that you learned.
Michael Jordan was not only the most talented player of his era
Yeah.
and arguably the GOAT, he also, arguably just because, you know, There's always records being broken. I
Yeah.
don't disagree that
Yeah.
Michael Jordan's a GOAT. But he also trained very hard,
Yeah.
which inspired his teammates.
Mm-hmm.
So he had that accountability as well because he trusted in himself. He trusted in the process. For all of us at times, we don't trust the process. We doubt ourselves.
Yeah.
I'd say what that taught me was to trust in me because I've developed this for so long that I need to trust in my instincts, my work ethic, that I'll figure it out.
Yeah.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
In my life, I was in school for a very long time.
Mm-hmm.
Come out of high school, I was like, I don't know what I'm doing. I don't really like school. But
Yeah.
I had a counselor tell me I'd never be anything, that I shouldn't go to college because I wouldn't make it through.
Wow.
And it was someone who knew nothing about me, and she was a teacher too, I think. I don't know what she did, whatever. That pissed me off so bad that
Yeah.
So I came out of the room like, fuck this bitch. She doesn't know anything about me. This is my senior year. The last 3 years I spent with my swim coach, who was also my counselor, who knew my work ethic, who knew what I was grinding for. This bitch don't know shit about me.
Yeah.
So I'm not gonna let her tell me what I can do and what I can't do. I will fucking show her.
Yeah.
And that just lit a fire under my ass. And I didn't come from money. I don't have a whole lot of money now. I started going to community college, where it kind of eases you more into school, and then it kind of got more intense, and I was like, damn, I'm actually really good at this. You know, what I wasn't applying before because I just didn't care. Now I'm killing it.
Yeah.
And I was like, she don't know anything. It was always in the back of my mind though, you could fail. It could be there.
Right.
That voice was always there, and it never was turned off.
Yeah.
I knew just from being in sports growing up, just loving being active. I loved watching my athletic trainer. Shout out Mel Haney, you're awesome.
Nice.
She worked with us and was just very kind, and I knew working with sports was what I wanted to do. I got into that, really enjoyed it, saw what it was, where thinking about it, I thought it was glorified. You're working with Gatorade Sports Science, working with athlete development, working with exercise physiology was a totally separate thing. Not what I was getting into. So definitely should have thought about it more, should have shadowed a little bit more, should have done some other things. But it brought me to this. It brought me to working with athletes, knowing how to communicate with athletes, because they're very different. It's that trust aspect in themselves that if other people don't have, they don't understand. So you have to show that type of trust in yourself, and that they can trust you to help them.
Yeah.
Because they come to you for medical help. Throughout that whole time, I was like, man, this is cool, but I feel like I'm just handing out water bottles, which I was. And you do that in the job, whatever.
Yeah.
So I shadow one day where I am with a doctor. He's doing surgery. And I thought I was talking to a nurse. I was like, hey, I should have been a nurse, but I'm here. This is cool. I want to be in surgery someday. She's like, oh, I'm not a nurse. I'm a physician assistant. So, and I was in your shoes one day, went back to school and did this. And I just kind of sat there, and I was like, man, this is where I want to be. I want to be in surgery. This is what I want to do. I want to be seeing a patient, talking to them, hearing what their needs are. If it comes to surgery, great. I'm in there doing those evasive procedures to help somebody.
Yeah.
I wanted to be there for someone in that way. And worked hard to do that. I still had this thought in the back of my mind, this could not work out. This could not happen. And you're just got to figure out another route. But I wasn't going to let that happen. So grinded the last 2 years of that degree. Got some good job offers. I was living in New Orleans too. Interned down there. Great internship.
Okay.
Really got to work with all kinds of settings. As an athletic trainer, you're not just in high school or in college. You can work occupational with workers on a construction site. Which I haven't done that yet. Now that I think about it, you can work with pro sports, which I did. Worked with one of the local area teams here.
Cool.
Just working all over all kinds of places. That's only on the top of my head right now.
You mentioned surgery.
Yeah.
What what fascinates you about surgery? And I guess, like, is there a specific area of the body or type of surgery that you're interested in, or is it all across the board? Or
So here's the thing. I was gonna find that out.
oh,
I've seen all kinds of surgeries: knees, feet, shoulders. A lot. I've seen a lot. What fascinates me about it, it's hard. It's hard
mm-hmm,
work.
yeah,
You're learning a lot from it,
yeah,
and you can contribute to research from that, which is cool.
right,
But, what's always kind of fascinated me since I was a kid, which is kind of weird now that I think about it, was like the blood and guts never really bothered me. It was the smell of like poop, pee. Feet don't bother me. Like smell of feet, never been a problem.
yeah, yeah,
Uh you kind of get over those things. But I think like the fact that where it makes most people turn away and it's like a weird thing, it's just kind of always fascinated me. It's like, well, why do
mm,
people turn away?
interesting,
So learning as much as I could from being in medicine, like kind of just takes down that um the tabooness
yeah,
of like blood, guts,
yeah,
other body fluids.
yeah,
But it's like, okay, well, if it's kind of worn off, it's not making me turn away. It's actually really cool what I'm learning. And it's
right,
applicable to my life.
yeah,
Like, let's say I have someone who, God forbid, gets hurt,
right,
I know how to
you can
suture.
help them,
That's my jam,
yeah,
right?
yeah,
Cleaning, debriding, um, approximating wound edges,
yeah, yeah,
like I just love it. It's like sewing clothes,
yeah.
but it's skin. So
This is a weird question, and feel free to just say no, and we can move on. But what is in MMA? What is your favorite move, if you have one, or favorite
mm,
position, or
so I love stand up. I love
okay,
grappling. Um, Jiu-jitsu is like home to me.
mm,
It just it's like my happy space. So is, kicking, throwing punches.
mm-hmm,
Um, I don't know, man. That's a hard one. I love it all. I think when you can figure out how to work off of other things like chess,
yeah,
like I move a pawn because it sets me up with a knight to attack, one of your more um, higher valued pieces.
yeah,
That's what I love about jujitsu. Like
yeah,
I can give up um, what's called like a mount.
yeah,
Now I'm on my back. Set opponents mounted in a way where they're going for a lock.
yeah,
I can, from that position that I'm in, move from there to counter. Counter like for a better position to my own lock.
yeah,
Um, Specifically, I don't know. It's hard. It's hard to say that because I love it all. I just
yeah,
love learning.
yeah.
I love connecting with elbows, throwing
Oh,
elbows and connecting
okay,
with those because I feel like those are not as much as a punch because I need to
yeah,
protect my hands for what I
yeah.
do. So throwing elbows and knees has
Oh,
always been fun. I love throwing
interesting.
kicks. Yeah, definitely just like roundhouse kicks to side kicks. I love just because
Okay,
I came from playing soccer growing up. So
yeah, yeah. Interesting.
and then favorite choke probably a triangle. Don't know if I can
Okay.
do it now,
Okay,
but
okay.
yeah.
Sure. Okay, so explain. So triangle is with the arms.
So triangle is when
Go ahead. Go ahead.
and
Come on. Let's go.
it could
No,
come
I'm
from
kidding.
it could come from different positions. The one I know is from my back.
Okay.
That's the beauty of jiu-jitsu is that it just goes so deep and into infinity. But
So you're on your back. They're on top of you on
yeah,
their back as well.
no, what's called in guard.
Okay.
So they're facing you. Your legs are wrapped around them. Ankles
Okay.
are crossed,
Okay.
more or less. Or a lot of people play open guard by just squeezing their knees. But
Yeah.
you get to the position where because it's a lot of hip movement. I think that's also what I love about it because you have to be so fluid with it. They call jiu-jitsu is
Interesting.
like swimming on land.
Yeah.
And you isolate an arm to have one arm in the triangle that your legs make and one arm out.
Mm-hmm.
So as you're like maneuvering your hips to get this, there's steps. It's like chemistry. You have to follow these steps to get said product or yield. So once you get to there, the arm is across their body. It's coming across that you have control of.
Mm-hmm.
You're squeezing one leg behind their neck, and that foot that's squeezing that comes behind the knee of the other leg of your own leg.
Okay.
So it's what's locking it. But what that
Yeah.
makes is a triangle.
Mm-hmm.
And the thing that makes an opponent tap to make it, a choke is that you're pulling your head towards them. So all these steps have to come in place so that the easiest part is just pulling their head.
Oh.
So that I think is why I love that choke. But my feet are not healthy right now.
Yeah.
So
So it's not something that you can do.
Right. Gets painful,
Yeah.
but I love that choke. So hopefully I'll be able to do it again.
So question, it sounds like people tap because it's painful, not because they get passed out.
It's a blood choke, so it stops blood flow.
Okay.
So it's not so much a choke, it's blood constriction.
Yeah.
So they call it a blood choke.
So would they tap out or would they?
Yeah, they would tap.
Would they just
and
faint?
if they don't, I mean, you have that cut off blood supply to your brain. Yeah. You pass out.
So hopefully at the level that you're fighting at, somebody realizes that they're about to pass out and they'll tap out. Like, okay, you got me.
Right, and that's the beauty of tapping.
Yeah.
You can get up and do it again.
Yeah.
You're not unconscious.
Yeah.
Right?
Uh-huh.
So that's life.
I have never gotten put to sleep
It sucks.
in what we've been doing. It sucks.
Yeah.
Really?
It's
okay.
like a hardcore nap. You don't know what happened until they're telling you what happened.
Right.
You just kind of fade and you're like, whoa, I remember we were doing something, but I didn't know it was going to do that.
You just forget. Whoa.
Not forget. It's not like amnesia. You just don't know what happens to get to that moment. And then they're waking you up like, hey, and you're like, oh, what happened? Because before I was facing this way. Now I have this view of the room. You know? So yeah, it's
interesting.
Blood chokes are no fun. Air chokes are no fun.
Yeah.
That's like a guillotine where their Adam's apple rests in your crook of your arm.
Yep, I've done that one.
Which can be a blood choke, or you can turn your forearm that pushes it against their Adam's apple. Uncomfortable air choke. So yeah. Those come on quicker because you're like, oh snap, I can't breathe. But with the blood ones, it's like, oh, I can fight.
Yeah.
Woken up.
The blood ones you don't really you don't really feel much.
No.
And then you're just
no.
Done. That's interesting. Wait, so when you wake up after getting put to sleep, you don't have a headache or anything? It's just
sometimes you do. Sometimes you do. Sometimes there's a headache.
If it's long enough, or what puts those on?
Yeah, I mean, you're decreasing blood flow, so your arteries will shrink.
Yeah.
But once the blood comes back, they expand again.
Hey, we're streaming. Hello. Let's put it on the other camera. My
camera 1, camera 2.
Yeah,
camera
1
2.
is not working right
camera
now.
1.
It just keeps freezing.
Camera
2. And it's the better camera, so I don't know what's going on with that. And then if I turn it off and turn it back on, OBS just restarts. So, that's a good time. Okay, sorry. Where were we?
Chokes.
Okay, yeah. So we were talking about chokes. So sometimes you get a headache. Sometimes you don't. Sometimes you're just kind of
out of it.
Where the heck am I?
Yeah.
How long does it take you, even with a headache and without? How long does it take you to recover from those?
Not long.
Yeah. Okay.
So I mean, it's just a short time. The blood's shunted to your brain. So
okay.
But if you hang on to it,
Yeah.
bad news bears. So they
Yeah.
always train you to like, let go.
Yeah.
With tapping, great.
Yeah.
Um, but some people don't want to tap due to like
Yeah.
ego,
Right.
or sometimes the choke is really good and it comes on real quick. So
Yeah. And they're not expecting it. They're like,
right,
oh, I can get out of this.
right,
Nope. Nope, you can't.
right.
Okay. Interesting. Okay, so the theme of the podcast, and feel free to give me feedback on this. So the podcast is called Rolling Forward. So what I want to do with guests is do something along the lines of ask a question around rolling forward.
Okay.
And so something along the lines of like what keeps you rolling forward,
Yeah.
or like in other words, like almost like what gets you to get up out of bed every day, something along those lines. And I'm down for feedback, but I also, if you have an answer, I'd love to hear your answer to that too.
What keeps me rolling forward?
Yeah,
Or feedback to like why you asked that question on your podcast?
both.
Okay. So why you asked that question, feedback, that's great. It's the name of your podcast.
Yeah.
And like everyone can relate to it.
Okay.
So I think you're going to get an awesome amount of diverse answers.
Yeah.
And it's going to be, all over the board.
Yeah. I wasn't sure if it was too cheesy. Like, I don't know. Like, I like dad jokes and whatever, but man,
but like
that might be pushing it. So
that kind of, I wouldn't say kind of, it's like 100% what this is.
Yeah.
So that's
Good.
why I'm excited to like help you out and do this.
Yeah, that's awesome. Thank you.
So too, what keeps me rolling forward? A lot of things.
Mm-hmm.
When I told you I'm still searching and finding how far I can go.
Mm-hmm.
I don't have a wife. I don't have kids.
Yep.
No girlfriend.
Same.
So I have the canvas, the slate that's blank.
Mm-hmm.
It's blank for tomorrow.
Yeah.
But it's filled with my past experiences. What gets me out of bed and keeps me moving forward is knowing that I want to keep building that canvas. I want to keep putting on it. I've done a lot of things in my life that I was like, damn, I don't know if I can do this. And then I was on the other side of it. I was like, you learned some things about yourself. You learned about your resilience. You learned about how you can adapt and what you can do. What else can you add to your tool belt?
Mm-hmm.
Not because you need it, because you want to add to it. It's great if you need it. Like it's there. I'm bilingual. I speak Spanish.
Yeah.
I'm learning Arabic. So
that's so awesome.
What can I keep adding to that? Because in this life, we're not built to stay stagnant. We were hunters and gatherers, right? Hunters tracking
animals,
tracking game, because that was our food. And then we learned how to farm. So we were like placing what's the best place to farm so we can get that yield for it to help us survive. Now we're at a state where we got like all kinds of free time, because it's the 21st century.
Yeah.
It's not a necessity to do those things.
Yeah.
So why not make it your necessity to see how far you can go and what you can add to that tool belt?
Right.
So
that
gets me out of bed, knowing that I've got no ceiling, or where is that ceiling?
Yeah. I think one thing that you might agree with is your tool belt specifically. Like I see you at the gym all the time, and like you give back.
Yeah.
Right? Like you're training other people and stuff like that too. So like, I mean, that even might be like another tool that you put on your tool belt is training other people and teaching and all that too. So
in medicine, you have to do that as well.
Yeah.
I love doing that.
Exactly.
And when I get the opportunity, I love making it like a classroom.
Yeah.
Minus the, chalkboard sound.
Yeah.
Like fingernails on a chalkboard.
Yeah.
But teaching is just so integral to everything. It helps you learn better. So if I'm going to do something that helps develop me, where we all learn, where then we're finally like, okay, I've taught you how to do a combo. Let's do that combo together.
Yeah.
Because it's going to help me in the long run. So
Yeah.
thank you for that. But also, it's just something I love doing. I grew up coaching a lot too: soccer, swimming, track, stuff like that.
Right.
So
Yeah.
Yeah, always, and just always having to teach stuff.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay, so let's go on the lighter side of things. What what is and this is again I'm working on these questions and like um what is something that makes you laugh, whether it be a comedy or music or like a stand-up comedian? I don't know, like something you think about randomly.
mm, Either my friends that have passed, that
Oh.
I see something that they're not around, and I would see that they would know is funny. I just sit there and laugh to myself,
Yeah.
and you kind of almost feel like that they're laughing with you,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
or I feel like I'm a 12-year-old at heart sometimes. So like poop jokes, that's always
Oh,
funny,
yeah. Okay, okay.
Um,
My buddy used to always say, like someone would fart and he'd go, "That asshole behind you is talking shit about you
yeah.
again."
um, I mean that's always funny,
Yeah.
but um,
Okay. Do you have
things that you can laugh at yourself about.
yes.
So on the vein of that, um, genetically in my family, we're all very gassy. So we
Oh
always
no.
think it's funny in our house when that happens.
Yeah.
I learned as an adult, not everyone thinks that funny. So, I was probably 28 by the time I learned not everyone talks about poop at the dinner table. So,
Yeah. Keep
um
talking.
I laugh at myself a lot because I know I have these problems and I don't do anything about it. It's just kind of like this is how I am.
Yeah.
No probiotics, no Saccharomyces, nothing that'll. I don't take those.
You don't.
I have them, but I don't take
Whoa.
them. So
Okay.
I don't know if this is where you wanted to take your podcast, talking about poop, farts,
Yeah,
GI
let's
problems.
go health and nutrition, improvement, all that.
My
Like,
nutrition's awesome, but
yeah,
my
well,
gas
I
tends to come out more, and I would get embarrassed, but it's just like, look, it happens, okay? And I feel like it's just gonna get worse as we age. So,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
get used to it now.
Right,
We're humans. We do disgusting things,
right.
which is probably why I like medicine.
So no probiotics. Like you haven't even found like a specific
Oh no, they're
probiotic that
there. I
might
just don't.
work.
I don't take them.
Oh, okay, okay.
I don't do it, and
Yeah,
I
but you don't
should.
like them because they give you gas, right? That
No, gas happens because um, I have a good diet. I mix it with like
oh,
green
okay,
vegetables,
okay.
leafies, whole grains, lean proteins. And I
Oh,
section it out calorically where it's like I'm not over getting calories over, but I'm also staying under that.
I got you.
But I'm just a gassy person,
Yeah.
and like I can do something about it. I've got the tools to do so. I don't, but I
Interesting.
should.
Okay, okay. And
And I
probiotics will help with that?
Yeah,
Oh, I
cause
didn't know that.
yeah, it
Okay.
helps with digestion and what's
Yeah,
being
sure.
like, it takes care of like what the byproduct is, which is that gas. It's
Oh.
I don't know the exact science, and I wish I did before I got
No,
on
no, you're
here.
good. It doesn't matter.
Just because of
We're
my
just shooting the
background, you
shit.
have
No,
to.
no, you're good.
But yeah, learning how to laugh at myself, that really like is funny
Yeah.
because my really good friends that know me will always make fun of me,
Yeah.
and I think it's funny.
Yeah, yeah. So, okay, a real quick story about laughing at myself. All my good friends, would like we always liked breaking social norms,
Yep,
and
I think that's
so
why we get along.
yeah, exactly. Like it's not necessarily making people feel awkward, but almost like shattering that like perception or whatever
But if
else,
it
you know?
does, is it at their expense?
Yeah, yes. Sometimes I'll feel awkward as well, but like it's worth the
Right,
it's worth it.
but shattering that norm, that
Y-
taboo,
Yeah,
you're not being offensive
yeah,
to somebody about them. It's just like, hey, I'm kind of laughing at myself, and what you thought was a problem is not really a problem.
yeah.
It's a mindset thing.
Okay, I'm jumping around. I'll get to that the first story in 1 second. But so today, I'm going into work
Mm,
and somebody is coming up the steps and I get to the door before them
okay.
and I open up the door and it's this, I don't know, lady in her 50s, let's say, and I'm like, after you, and she goes, oh, I can get it for you, and
Because you have a podcast?
yeah, exactly. I was rolling forward in front of her. I don't know. Anyway, sorry. But anyway, I opened the door and I was like, after you, and she's like, she's like, no, I can get it for you, and I was like, okay, I just now got your joke because I have a podcast. She knew I had a podcast, not that I was in a wheelchair or anything, but wow, sorry, it took me a second to get that, because I'm so famous, and yeah, I'm like the Joe Rogan of the Midwest. Everybody knows who I am. Uh, but anyway, like she's like, I can get it for you, and I'm like, no, after you, please, and like she kind of like sat there, like stood there, and she's like, uh, okay, and then just kind of like really awkwardly walked through the door that I was holding open for her, and it was like, it's one of those things where it's like a nice gesture
Yeah.
that someone wants to do that, but it's like you just saw me open the door just as fast as you did,
Right.
you do, and I'm holding it open for you.
Right.
And it's like, I can do it for you. It's like, yeah, but I'm already here.
Right.
Like,
Right.
and it's just, it's interesting. I know it's like a social norm
Yeah.
that like, oh, you have to help out those that are less fortunate than you, let's say. But at the same time, there's definitely that stigma of, oh, I have to open the door for someone in a wheelchair. And it's like, if they got it for you, then by all means, like,
Right.
it's interesting that awkwardness,
Right.
like I don't know. Anyway, before I get on to my next story, do you have anything to add to that?
I would just say like, um, growing up, I had like a great grandparent that was in a wheelchair, and I was probably like 8 years old, and I never pushed anyone in a wheelchair, and I wanted to push him in a wheelchair, so I
Mm,
was taking him around like our family function,
yeah.
and my parents told me like, from that point we knew you were gonna like take care of people. So,
Oh,
um, but I did that because like I've never pushed anyone in a wheelchair and
yeah,
taken them around. It's kind of cool. Like it's
yeah,
fun,
yeah,
But like I've met people who have been in wheelchairs, and like in that regard, I've gotten doors for them just because like, yo, it's one less thing you got to do, man. Like I
yeah,
got it for you,
yeah, for sure.
Because if I had stuff in my hands, like you do it for me, I get
Yeah,
it. But
yeah.
like if it's the race, if I get to it
It's
first, I got you.
Yeah,
You
right.
know?
But it's also the awkwardness of like I already had the door open, right? And
Yeah,
and so it's
yeah.
like
But also like it's that mindset of helping someone who
is less fortunate.
but looks like they have a disability.
Yeah, yeah,
It's
yeah.
just what you're writing. You
Yeah,
know what I
yeah,
mean?
yeah. That's true.
So
Yeah. And I'm not bashing this person. Like
yeah,
it's interesting. It's like there's like a damned if you do, damned if you don't kind of thing. Because
yeah,
like what I love to see society see me in a way that I can do things on my own. Yeah,
right,
absolutely.
right,
But then again, if I see someone doesn't try to help me,
right,
it's like, oh, like in a way,
right.
But again, I'm a really positive person,
Yeah,
and so I always try to look at the positive in things. I think it's a nice gesture.
yeah,
It's nice to do. It's nice to offer, and if someone says no, I got it,
yeah,
then carry on, right?
right,
There's a quote that I heard is something like, don't do for an old person something that they can do themselves,
right.
because it takes away like their dignity almost.
Yeah,
And I think that's, you can apply that to kids, you can
yeah.
apply that to disabled people, you can apply that across the board.
Because your independence at that age and
Yeah.
across your life is like number one.
Yeah.
So, and I get that.
Yeah.
But that situation of like that taboo, like that's one situation.
Yeah.
There's a lot others.
You're right.
Um.
Absolutely.
Uh.
So
I don't overthink things like that. Like what we talked about before, it's not awkward if you just don't think about it or don't make it awkward.
Yeah,
So for
yeah.
somebody else that might be, but that's like a them thing,
I wasn't awkward in that situation because I've done it so many times. But like it's incredible how awkward people get when I hold the door open.
Yeah, I get that.
It's very humorous, and
Right.
especially if I'm with like an able-bodied friend
Right.
who like who I hold the door open for them,
Right.
and then somebody behind me is like, "Wow, look at your jackass friend" or something like that, and then they try to hold the door open for me. I'm like, "No, no, no, go ahead, go ahead."
Yeah.
Um. Anyway, so when I was in high school, my friends and I used to play these jokes on people, and just try to make people feel as awkward as possible, right?
I'm about it.
And so my able-bodied buddy would be like, "Shut up, cripple." And there's this girl that heard this, and when we were at lunch in the lunchroom, and she's like, "Why do you let him call you that?" And I'm like, "Cause I'm a cripple." And she's like, "Hey, come here, come here." And so I went over there, and she's like, "You shouldn't let him call you that." I was like, "Why not?" And she goes, "Well, I don't think you're a cripple." And I go, "You might need to get your eyes checked. I'm sorry, but anyway, there's just some fun things like that and
Perception.
I've grown out of those things.
I get that.
But
But also, like, her perception was like, don't do that,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
build yourself up. But, that's
Let's
how you joke with your friends. Like,
let's yeah. Let's ignore the truth so
right,
that we can make somebody feel comfortable or something like
right,
that. I don't know.
right.
Like
No, I get that. But also, like, that is pretty funny.
yeah. Yeah, yeah. Uh yeah, I mean I would say there was one time so I was working at a retail company, and um I was in the I was in one of the departments that needed a key,
Right.
and I was at the front of the store, and I was swinging my key around, just kind of waiting for the next customer to come in. And there's a customer that walked by, and she goes, "You lazy ass, why don't you get up and do something?" Yeah, like I did not know who this lady was
Where
at
you happen
all.
to be sitting in your
I
chair.
was in my wheelchair, just
Oh, yeah.
twirling the key around and all that. And she's like, she said that, and I was just like, I died laughing. I was just like, oh my God, I could not stop laughing. And I go, ma'am, tell me your name, please, because
Yeah.
I need to shake your hand, because like that took some balls. That was so awesome, and you
Yeah.
couldn't have said it to a better person.
Yeah. To the right person.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Because I think now that I think about it, I grew up around a lot of people in wheelchairs, so it just never was a thing for me.
Yeah.
Besides, like, you know, someone is thirsty, I'm like, oh, I'll get your water bottle, man. I'm up here anyways,
Yeah.
just stuff like that,
Right,
and
right.
opening doors, like you said. But
Yeah.
it's never been a thing to me to be like, uh, that's a lesser person than me, or they can't do what
Mm.
I do.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
it's never been like that.
yeah.
And
Good.
it was even like, um, solidified more training with you because you're teaching me things from like a
Mm.
sitting position, and
Mhm.
it's a different perspective from like moving on my feet.
Yeah, yeah,
So doing that, I'm learning what you see,
yeah,
and it's really cool.
yeah.
Like it's cool to learn things from that. So
Mhm.
um yeah, you have to be able to laugh at yourself, but you also have to be able to like see from someone else's perspective.
Yeah,
I think laughing at yourself is number one, and then stepping out of your shoes to do what others do, like
yeah,
that's number two.
yeah, yeah,
So,
yeah.
um,
So one of the interesting things, um, tell me if this is maybe this is an interesting question. It might be a difficult one, but I'm gonna ask it. So, how do you broach treating somebody normally
mm,
who's in a wheelchair and accommodating their disability at the same time?
just ask what you need.
Yeah.
It's like, we have to use pronouns because um the LGBTQ plus community, um, I think is awesome, and there's like a voice for people of that community. now, which I think is
Mhm.
great. Using pronouns make people feel comfortable. Like,
Mhm.
um,
I
I think it's something like that. Like I ask you, like, hey man, what do you need? Like,
yeah.
approaching, talking about it, like you're just a person. Anyone in a
Yeah.
wheelchair is just a person. I'll talk to them
Yeah.
like I talk to anybody.
Yeah.
Just like, what do you like to eat? What do you like to drink? What do you celebrate? Let's talk about it.
So, what do you tell somebody who might be uncomfortable to ask, what do you need?
Just be like, go about your normal day, and
Yeah.
whatever you do, like, hey, do you want some? Do you need some? How are we gonna
Mhm.
get there?
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, be like, hey, I gotta go do this. Would you need help in your car?
Mm.
Just because I'm here and I can do it if you need help. Like, just
Yeah.
don't be afraid about it.
Yeah.
Um, like you showed me how you get in and out,
Yeah.
which you taught me a lot about that.
Yeah.
So,
I love that you said ask them.
yeah,
That was like your gut reaction
just
is
start the conversation.
like
There's no wrong or right way to do it, unless I mean, there is a wrong way to do it, but there's no like perfect way. Just like bridge that barrier. Like, hey
yeah.
man, like, I gotta go walk and do this. To do that, like you're gonna need to get over this threshold. Do you need any help? Because
Right.
like I'm here.
Yeah. Yeah.
So stuff like that.
Yeah.
I guess it's just because I'm thoughtful too. But
Yeah, I love that. I think everybody, I forget what the word that I'm trying to use is, but everybody views like a person in a wheelchair as the same, right? And that can't be further from the truth
what do
as
you mean
far as
by ability or by
yeah, the same ability and all that. So like I
like everyone would assume that there is a handicap sticker or placard when they
uh
get the first spot to a building,
I,
like that type of same.
I'm thinking like everybody in a wheelchair, none of them can open doors. They all need help getting into their car.
Right,
They're
right.
they're all
That person
stuff like
wouldn't
that.
be in the building doing what I'm doing.
Yeah,
Like,
sure.
if it wasn't for like getting there.
Yeah,
So, but I
yeah,
understand what you're saying. Like, it's not
yeah.
all the same. There's levels to it.
Right.
And I don't assume things either. I just kind of let it come to me.
Yeah, yeah.
I try to.
I think that's so important. And I think so. One of the interesting things. This is my perspective, and then I'll give you somebody else's perspective who might be opposite of me. Is I think you asking me questions about my disability
Yeah.
is like you getting it to know a piece of who I am.
Yeah.
And I think that's important
Yeah.
as far as understanding each other and all that. And also like for me, like there's always an elephant in the room.
Right.
Right. And
Right.
so like let's just get that elephant out of the room and
Right.
like let's just talk about it.
Yeah.
Like we don't need to be awkward. You don't need to be
It
like, oh,
was
I don't know what to do in this situation because this person's in a wheelchair and blah 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 blah.
What's
Like
funny
just
is like
it's cool.
you're the blind men with the elephant. Someone's gonna touch a leg and think that it's something else. Someone's gonna touch the tail.
Oh
'Cause everyone
yeah.
has a different view about it.
Yeah.
But once they talk to you, it's like, oh, so this is how you do it.
Yeah, right.
So,
A genuine curiosity
yeah,
of approach.
for the longest time, no lie, I thought you rolled up with a van that had a
Yeah.
ramp that came out,
Yeah,
and you
yeah.
like took the chair up, and then you got
Uh-huh.
into the captain seat.
Uh-huh.
But like, you just got a car like I do.
Yeah.
Actually, your car's nicer than mine. So, like,
It's a Ferrari for those who are listening. No, I'm kidding.
Porsche 911.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So,
Vote now, Porsche or Ferrari, go.
so my cousin's in a wheelchair. He has cerebral palsy, muscular dystrophy.
Yeah.
So he's not communicative with words.
Mhm.
Can't drive, but he has a van that his family will use,
Yeah.
and it's got like a ramp and everything.
Mhm.
And by the way, that's why you don't block the hash mark sections of the handicap spot, because it accommodates that piece of equipment. So
Yep.
don't do that anymore. And if you are, your mama.
You're an
So,
asshole.
yeah, I thought, just because I saw that, I just assumed that you had one like that somewhere. And I
Yeah.
just
Yeah,
didn't
yeah.
see you pull up in a car. But
Yeah.
you have a normal ass car, which is cool.
Yeah, real quick for the guests who don't know, what is cerebral palsy?
So cerebral palsy, there's a disconnect between neurons in your brain and
The muscles.
muscles. Yeah, and with that sometimes comes muscular dystrophy. Like you said, depends on like the ability of said person. But
Yeah.
The dystrophic muscle comes from like the neurons not firing and sending signals to it. So when there is movement, it's not like walking, moving arms. Sometimes it's spastic. It just depends.
Yep. So there's different levels of cerebral palsy. It sounds like the person in your family is nonverbal cerebral palsy, you said?
Yeah, but like he and I communicate without words, so it's always just been cool to learn that. And like I said, just ask.
So,
like
so
you want
there's
to break that.
there's people that can talk and maybe talk quite well to nonverbal, essentially, as far as cerebral palsy goes.
Yeah. And the way he responds is awesome because we love doing it when we were kids. It's always a lot of laughing and smiling with things that he likes.
I love it.
You know, not so much when it's with like dislikes, like food or he loves Kanye, which I think is awesome. Loves Kanye and loves the Browns. So that's his team. That's the music he likes. Old Kanye, it was old Kanye.
Yeah.
I'm not so sure about new Kanye.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, so the way we communicate is just like through music, stuff like that. And just whenever I'm around, because it's been a minute, he's just always like smiling and laughing. And that's how I know it's just like, it's been a minute, but we're cool.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
So
that's awesome.
Yeah.
Okay, so going back to getting in and out of my car, you've seen the other guy in a wheelchair we're calling Rugen. He doesn't want us to use his real name.
Rugen.
So you've seen Rugen get in and out of this car, right?
Yeah, totally different.
Yeah.
Now is it a different setup in chair? I can't remember.
Like in the chair, yeah, he does have hand controls.
No, like the type of chair that you guys are riding.
Oh,
different type.
They're different brands, but no, not really.
Because I know he has to take it apart to.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, so when I drove a car, I had to take mine apart just like his.
Yeah.
Except I threw it in the trunk. He put it. Yeah.
Yeah, and then he showed me how he goes from trunk to driver's seat. So my question to you is: do people come up to you while you're doing that? And they're like, "Hey, man, do you need any help?"
Yeah, and I was an asshole once in high school about it. Let me just real quick recap this for the audience. So I have a hatchback. I have a Highlander, and I open the hatchback. Use one arm. I hold the van, and then I use one arm to pull my wheelchair up, and I flip it over backwards so it doesn't roll around in the back seat. And then I shut it. And then I use the wall of the car to get to the passenger seat. So I can walk a little bit. I'm very fortunate. Spina bifida and all that. Google that. I'll probably get into that in a later podcast.
The spinal cord bifurcates.
Yeah. There's a gap in the spinal cord instead of bifurcates. For those that don't know what bifurcates is, there's a gap in the spinal cord.
To all my electricians out there.
yeah, exactly. Oh, okay.
Shout out to Edwin.
Edwin, we miss you. But yeah, so then that's how I get in the car. So. Again, I'll probably in another podcast get into my disability a little bit more. But if somebody wants to ask, feel free to ask. I'm not shy about it. I just, for the sake of time, I'm going to get into Rugen's story. So Rugen, he's paralyzed from the waist down. So he has to get into the passenger seat of the car, and then he pops the wheels off of their quick release wheels. So they come apart pretty quick. And then he reclines. He reclines his seat in his car, and then grabs the frame and puts it all the way into the back seat of his car.
He gets directly into his driver's seat and then adjusts everything.
Yes.
There. Yeah.
Yep.
Different way.
And then he grabs both wheels, puts them in the back seat with his car. If you're a paraplegic, that's generally how most people do it. Some people will put it in the passenger seat, but I think most people put it in the back. So yeah, and then Matt drives with hand controls. I drive with my feet. If you're curious, ask me how I can drive with my feet, even though I can't feel them.
Is it
So,
a manual?
it is not a manual. Good question. It's an automatic.
See, just ask questions and bridge the gap.
I've never driven a manual, but for some stupid reason, like I'd love to buy a junker car that like I don't mind like wrecking in like on a track or something like that. I don't know. Like but off the street or like on a side road that nobody drives down, like I'd want to see if I can do it.
Yeah,
Um I think it'd be challenging because my feet just flop around and I know that clutch is kind of rough to do that with.
because you
So
have to have that feeling of letting it go to where it engages.
Uh,
Um,
well, so I think I'll have that feeling based on the pressure that it puts on my knee.
okay.
Um, but I think my foot would just go like this.
I see.
Like it would just like kind of like flop off. Like it would
Yeah,
just go backwards
yeah,
and then flop off. So
yeah.
I don't know. Anyway, what were we talking? What were we getting into? Before I told the story of how Rugen and I get in our cars.
Questions.
Yeah.
Bridge that question. Bridge that gap. How to not make it so awkward
You
when you
had a
meet
question
someone.
for me though. Oh yeah. So somebody asked me when I was in high school. There's an upperclassman that was like, "Hey man, do you need help getting in your car?" And I can get my wheelchair in my car. Like I did have to take it apart because I was driving like a sedan around. But I can get in my car in like literally 15 seconds.
Yeah.
Um, so I was like, "Yeah, man, that'd be awesome." And I was an asshole. I was an asshole. I'm not proud of this. It is kind of funny looking back on it, but I don't think I'd ever do this again. Um, I got in my passenger car and then I just rolled my wheelchair to him. I said it goes in the trunk. And and like
Well,
he
they did ask if you needed any help.
yeah,
So, I
yeah.
mean, you weren't going to turn down free help.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah,
I'm going to
right.
do less right now.
Right,
Like,
right.
I mean, I've
Uh
been having my backpack too. My shoulder's kind of sore. Yeah.
Right, right. But then when he tried to put it in my trunk with the wheels on, he didn't know how to take apart the wheels or anything
Yeah.
like that. So he came back to me and was like, "Hey, uh, it won't fit in the trunk."
Now I've committed to this. How do we do it?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So anyway, yeah. People do ask. It's interesting. I think now because I don't have to take apart my wheelchair,
Right.
like unless I have to like get up and like pull up my pants, which that's
Right.
happened in somebody's ass, but like most of the time I like get up and then just throw it up there and it's
Yeah.
like 5 seconds. And
Yeah.
so nobody really has time to ask, or if they do, they're
Right.
like, "Hey, do you need help?"
But you're also
No,
used
I'm
to it.
good.
You've had to do it so many times. So,
Yeah,
but yeah.
that's true. I will say this. This is so I coach wheelchair tennis. I coach kids. Love it. It's one of my passions. I had this little girl come up to me. So we had like a senior in high school, and then we had like this 10-year-old, and obviously a couple other kids. But the 10-year-old comes up to me and she goes, "Hey, Coach Zach, can I go ask can I go ask Matthias a question?" And we're in the middle of practice. And I'm like, "What do you need to ask Matthias right now? He's over there playing and like what do you need to ask him?" She goes, "I just want to know if after practice he can help me put my chair in my car and teach me how."
Yeah.
And I'm like, "Yes." That's like the ultimate goal for like a wheelchair tennis coach is
Yeah.
to like train independence in kids. And
Right.
and like we had done that other practices where like
Right.
we helped the kids, but like she was so excited for it that
Yeah.
she wanted to like she thought of it in the middle of practice.
Yeah.
Like and if you think about it, like
And how old are these kids? Does it
10.
range from like
Well,
okay,
yeah,
so
yeah.
just
So
10.
so I think my youngest is like 7 years old, and
Yeah.
I coach adults too. So I recently am coaching a collegiate team. So
Now, how often are these people around other people in wheelchairs?
well, so that's the thing. This is why I think wheelchair sports is so important.
Yeah.
Because I and again, where we are, there's a ton of wheelchair sports
Yeah.
opportunities. So it's awesome. So The beginners practice once a week in tennis.
Yeah.
But there's also on like there's basketball, there's sled hockey, there's a whole bunch of different athletic sports that the kids can do. Um, and so, yeah, I think that exposure is super important because when they
Yeah.
see like an upperclassman loading his wheelchair or even teaching another kid, hey,
Yeah.
this is how to load your wheelchair in your car, that makes everybody else be like, oh, that's a thing? Oh,
Right.
I didn't. Oh my gosh, I want to try that now.
Right.
I remember when I was like 10, I went to I used to road race, and I went to a race,
Road racing in what?
like a track chair.
Oh, cool.
Um, so it was I think this was actually a track meet. Like we raced around a track at this location, but
Okay.
so it was out of town, and we went to there's this hotel that had an escalator. And again, I was 10 years old, and I see these older kids just riding the escalators up and down in their wheelchairs.
Yeah.
And I'm
Balancing it too.
no, not balancing, not balancing. So the way to do it is you hold on to the rails as they're going up,
Yeah.
or as they're going down, you face backwards
Yeah.
to the going down the steps.
Yeah.
So you put your front caster on
And the
one step.
caster is the foot plate.
No, the caster is the front wheel. So you put the front wheel on one step, and then you put your back wheel on the next step below.
Yeah.
So you're riding the escalator like this.
Yeah.
And you're holding on to the handrails. And so I just looked at my mom. I said, "Mom, that looks so cool. Let me try it." And we've tried to hash out the story previously, and I don't remember exactly what happened. I do remember I rode the escalator, but I don't remember if like my mom stood behind me or like just one of the kids was like, "Yeah,
Right.
this is how to do it," and they went from there. But now I can I can ride escalators, and so being around, I guess the theme of that is like, if there's not an elevator, I can take an escalator. Or if it's like on the other side of the mall,
Right.
I can take an escalator, right?
Right.
And I think learning those skills of like independence and like doing a wheelie, or like let's say there's a curb and like getting up and down the curb and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Like you only see that. No. You rarely see that outside of the wheelchair sports community.
Yeah.
You have to be around other people in wheelchairs in order to actually like get that motivation or like get that inspiration to see somebody else do it. Because I mean, if you think about it, a lot of able-bodied people can't do that.
Right.
So like if you're in rehab or something like that, like an able-bodied person's not necessarily going to show you that. And again,
Right.
I haven't been in rehab, and so I might be speaking out of my ass here. So
No, not at all.
but yeah, I just think that's super important, that independence that kids have. So I try to be that person that's like shows them around, and then I try to I like the gym atmosphere of like Rob trains people that train, or that Rob trains other people, and so on and so forth. So I
Teach a
kind
man
of
to
like to
fish.
have that mentality with exactly.
Yeah.
Anyway, you were gonna say something?
I just think that's interesting with the wheelchair community because and that's why I asked you that question, is how often your kids that you coach are around other people outside of tennis, because how are they learning these other things? Trial and error, seeing someone else and having them teach it. Like, oh, this is how you're doing it? Sweet. I'll do that too,
Yeah.
And then, like, and you keep using the term able-bodied people, so I'm going to say that as well.
Yeah.
They see that and they're like, well, this person who I assume has less ability than I do is doing this and learning some shit. I'm gonna go learn some shit in my life. Like, now that I
Yeah.
see that now, like if I meet someone who's asking me those questions, who's in a chair, oh, this is how my friend did it.
Mhm.
Like, um, like having that aspect of people who are in a similar situation, I
Mhm.
think is really important.
Yeah,
Um,
for sure.
I had a friend who is a little person, so he would always go to the conferences that they would have every year,
Mhm.
doing all kinds of things. Basketball, he was a dope basketball player. Um, But like learning, and then he was in some movies too. So him learning how to do this from other people, um, who were also little people, I think was really cool because he got to see all kinds of stuff. You know,
Yeah.
we grew up in this small town and not a whole lot to do.
Yeah.
So I'm so happy he had that because then he was teaching me stuff,
Yeah.
you know, that I use today.
Right.
So, yeah, I think, you know, having that aspect of community where like we're all learning how to do this together
Yeah.
is really important.
Yeah, for
Um,
sure.
like I said, you've taught me a lot already.
Well,
So
I mean, there's a community aspect here even
yeah,
too. Like you get a lot of that. Um, you get a lot of that here, but in a different way, which is one of the reasons why like my target audiences for having on the show are people at the gym
yeah,
and then the wheelchair sports community.
yeah,
So. And then yeah. So anyway, that's kind of like I'm sure I'll have other people on the show as
yeah,
well, but like those will be like the major guests or the majority of the guests
yeah,
at least for now. So
yeah.
until I can interview, you know, I don't know. Gosh, I don't even. If you could interview anybody in the world,
Living or
if
dead?
you could interview anybody in the world, who would it be? I think my mic come out.
Living or dead?
Ooh, let's do both. One living, one dead.
Dead, Bob Marley, because he brought the
Bob
world
Marley.
together. He brought a country
Interesting.
together. He brought the world together.
Okay.
Living,
Yeah.
what's a tough one? Because I know they say never meet your idols,
Yeah.
never meet your heroes.
Because then you just get disappointed.
I would know. I've never really met heroes. I don't really idolize anyone like that unless it's, you know,
Yeah.
um, I don't know. That's a hard one. I haven't thought about that.
Yeah.
I've always had like my list of dead people I'd always interview. So
If you could shadow anybody in the world, how about
doing anything?
that? Yeah. Don't get weird.
No, because I have to make it interesting. Because, you know, shadowing said person, you probably only get one shot at it, right?
Yeah.
Why not make it count?
Yeah.
One person's shadow. See, all this medicine stuff comes in my mind, but
Yeah.
um, one person is shadow. Well, how about you tell me yours and I'll think about mine? Okay, I've told you half of the equation.
I was waiting for you to flip it on me. So dead. Dead or alive? Let's see. So I would want to shadow a businessman. A businessman. You know, a person who's made a tremendous impact on my life from like a just motivational standpoint. Actually, there's been a lot, but let's say Alex Hormozy. He's a businessman who started like a bunch of gyms and sold it for millions of dollars. Um, you've got Chris Williamson, I think would be really cool to talk to. Another person, Jordan Peterson. I listened to a lot of his like self-help stuff of like clean your room and stuff like that. And like, you know, the biggest impact that I had on that Jordan Peterson had on me was like, don't lie. And one of his rules for life is like, tell the truth or at least don't lie. And one of the things like I've heard that all my life. I was born and raised Christian, right? And like I was like, yeah, duh, you don't lie to other people. But then he's like, don't lie to yourself. Like don't make promises and then don't keep them.
Because it's a slippery slope.
Yeah, it is.
Because if you don't keep that promise to yourself, you're not going to keep it to anyone else who's important to you.
Right, exactly. Because
I
you're a
mean,
piece of shit at that point.
to
Like
do
at least that's
said
what.
things for other people in your life that you love, that you hold dear to you, that's important, to do those things, you can't lie to yourself.
Yeah,
You have to be transparent with yourself. You've got to be honest with yourself,
yeah.
right?
Mm-hmm.
So I think that's very important as well.
Yeah, in addition, it's like don't hide from responsibility,
Yeah.
right? So like over the years, I would have, dude, like 10 years ago, I would have never thought I would have been in this position with like coaching with with work,
Yeah.
with doing all this. Like it's just such like the podcast. Like it's like take on as much responsibility as you can handle.
Yeah.
It's like that's such a key thing that stood out.
Does it
So,
interest you too?
what
All of it,
every
all
oh
the
yeah,
responsibility you have.
dude, I'm learning so much too, and yeah, it's.
Because it's something that you care about, something that you're giving back to, which just shows you have an awesome heart.
Well, I appreciate that. Thank you. It's. I I I want to say that yes, I'm giving back. I want to give people a voice who might not have one, right?
Yeah.
But I think everybody has a like a they're they're in it selfishly to some extent, right? Like I love coaching
You get satisfaction from that.
because I get satisfaction from it.
But
Like it's like I love seeing that. Like I get so excited
what's
when I see that girl come over and say, can Matthias help me put my wheelchair in my car?"
right?
It's like, yes,
But
I
that's not
love that.
selfish.
You're right.
You've
They're giving back to their community and all that.
you've
Hopefully,
bred that
yeah,
in giving to other people that it's self-sustaining now.
yeah,
So where it could be selfish, yeah, I'm selfish because it makes me feel good that I help somebody, and
yeah,
that now that they're doing it for others, that's
yeah,
a good kind of selfishness to have.
yeah. That's true. Um. Okay. So dead. So that like this can go down some weird paths. Like for example, like okay, maybe Jesus Christ and see like what's really true, what's not really true, and or even like Epstein because
Uh,
I want the list. Like tell me who was on your plane, right? Like something like that. That doesn't seem like one that would be like, oh, I really want it. Like that's not number one. That's just another like funny like
right.
or like um I don't know, like another president might be fun.
To shadow.
To shadow, yeah. Oh, Epstein would not be fun to shadow. We were talking about meeting people,
Interviewing
and then
people.
we also asked about shadowing too. So
Right.
I just want to be clear that that was not that would just be someone to interview, and get to like figure them out. Let's see, like Lincoln like kind of would be cool to interview. Who would I shadow though? Well, I kind of already said who I'd shadow. I think the people that I'd shadow those people that I mentioned, I'd also want to interview.
Yeah.
So
I figured out my shadow.
who?
Um, Similar. It's a musician.
Mm.
Um, I don't know why I choose musicians. It's just probably because when you make an art, it's like the purest form of you.
Yeah,
It's kind of looking into you,
yeah.
shows you what kind of person you are. Um, Bob Marley to interview because
Oh.
he brought a country together. Um, there's two main political parties in Jamaica that were warring, and he brought them together.
Uh,
After his death, he brought the world together. His music was distributed to the world. It's associated with love because of his message of love.
Interesting.
With him and the Whalers.
Mm-hmm.
To
I didn't know that about Bob Marley.
Yeah, yeah. Um, Jamaica was a really tumultuous place in the 60s and 70s.
Mm.
Britain was releasing Jamaica to their independence.
Mm-hmm.
Power was being fought over because Jamaica or the British Empire was just like, we're out of here.
Yeah.
Similar thing in Nigeria as well. The sun never set on the British Empire because they were everywhere.
Yeah.
So Bob, with his music, his people, they've seen the poverty, they've seen what Britain had left. They've seen the ugly, they've seen the evil that was
Uh-huh.
there, but he still promoted love. He had no disdain or wish, like bad wish against people who wanted him dead, and then they came to try to shoot him one
Mm.
night, and the next day he knew that the person that shot him, their idealism would win if he did not go on stage. So he still went on stage showing his wounds. But what he did was the two parties that were fighting in Jamaica were at that concert, and he brought them on stage and held their hands in unity.
Whoa.
Not wishing harm to someone that wanted you dead. Like, that's one of the strongest in terms of restraint. That's one of the strongest things you can do with that power.
Right.
Because he was getting famous at that point. He had power. He
Yeah.
could have said, like, I'm going to send some people to go take care of this. But his message was love, because he knew he's seen the evil.
Right.
To shadow, I would say Kulthum. She was an Egyptian musician.
I have no idea who that is.
Similar issue. Britain was leaving power.
Kulthum?
Umkulthum.
Okay.
Kulthum. She was an Egyptian singer. Very beautiful. Her voice was lovely too.
Hold on 1 second. Hello? Okay. Somebody just popped up in chat and was like, yeah, go to xyz.com. So I just banned them.
Okay.
That was interesting. Anyway, sorry. So, what's the person's name? I'm gonna Google him real quick.
Kulthum.
Can you spell it? UN.
I got you.
Can you type upside down?
Yeah.
You can turn it back around.
Gotta remember the W is not the M.
Here.
Damn.
Let's just turn it.
I know,
around.
but like, you know,
You're trying.
you gotta adapt. I'm used to it.
We got people watching us, bro. Ain't nobody got time for that.
So she was a very famous Egyptian singer. Similar thing in Egypt when Britain was leaving the empire. They released Egypt from their control. She brought a country together.
Finally, homemade Manjaro makes your pants.
And all of her band members were in love with her because of her voice. And she's like, look, we have to put this aside right now because we have a country to save. So that was, and she just has the most beautiful voice ever.
Oh, you can hear that, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't think... I would be very shocked if Stream could hear this as well.
Ask homeboy over here that dropped the link.
Maybe they can. Yeah, right? If anybody's on and watching, let me know if you can hear this. I don't think you can.
But I would want to shadow her to see what her process was in writing songs, to see what she dealt with day to day in life.
Interesting. Okay. Yeah, she has a good voice.
And her music's just so beautiful. I use it a lot to like relax and calm.
Oh,
So,
can you understand it?
well, they've got subtitles down here.
Sure.
And Thamri is like my life.
Oh.
You are my life.
Okay. Interesting.
And so in Arabic, is like mother. And usually the name after is like the oldest son, if there's a firstborn son. So her name is mother of Kulthum. So Kulthum.
Okay. Okay. Sorry. So why were we talking about her?
You were talking about who would you interview? Who would you?
Oh
shadow?
yeah.
Because like Arabic music is so beautiful, and it's speaking about feelings that are more profound than just like, you know, music we hear today. Like, hey girl, I think you look good. She's saying you are my life.
Yeah.
Like you are in darkness. You are the moon. El Gamar. You are the one that brings light to my life. So,
what is moon? Gamar?
Gamar?
Yamar?
Gamar. Gamar.
Gamar.
You got it.
Gamer almost.
Gamar. Yeah.
Gamar.
Ya Habibi Gamar.
Ya Habibi Gamar.
Ya Habibi.
Ya Habib.
Habibi.
Habibi.
Like my love.
Ya Habibi.
You are the moon.
Gamar.
Yeah.
Oh, cool. So my love, you are the moon.
Yeah.
That means interesting.
Yeah.
Huh. Cool. Well, we've been going for an hour and a half.
Really?
Yeah.
Time flies.
You ready to call it, or
Yeah, let's call
you
it.
got anything else you want to bring up? There'll be more.
There'll be more. I'm down for that. So thank you for having me on this test run that seemed like a not a test run and just
Yeah.
the real thing.
Yeah, absolutely. It was fun. Thanks for having me on. And all right, bye, guys. I hope y'all keep rolling forward.
Roll forward. Ain't no other way.
Okay, bye.